歡迎大家嚟到今日警方嘅記者會啊！咁首先我介紹一下台上面幾位講者先。咁喺台中間，咁就係我哋警察公會關係科總警司郭家全先生。咁而喺郭 Sir 嘅左手邊，咁就係我哋警察公會關係科高級警司江永全先生。而喺江 Sir 左手邊就係有組織罪案及三合會調查科高級警司李桂華先生。而去翻郭 Sir 右手邊就係港島總區高警司行動吳樂俊先生，咁啊吳 Sir 嘅右手邊就係行動部嘅高警司汪偉信先生。稍後幾位講者會先後發言，跟住會有個問題時間。麻煩想發問嘅傳媒代表舉一舉手，講出你自己嚟自邊個傳媒機構，最多發問3條。事不宜遲啦，我將時間交俾郭。
大家好啊！首先啊，謹代表我哋警隊嘅同事咧，就
on behalf of our colleagues of the police force, we would like to wish the people of Hong Kong good health and safety.
大家都會有希望有新
In
嘅
the
開
new
始
year, we
啦。
would all like to
咁
have
啊，但
a
係好
new
可惜
start, but
喺2019
unfortunately,
年嘅除夕同埋
on
2020
New
年
Year's Eve
嘅
in
元旦，
2019 and on
暴徒
New
再一
Year's
次用
Day
暴
in
力
2020,
放火，
rioters once
再
again
一次用
resorted to
種種嘅
violence
惡
and
行去
arson.
破壞我哋
They
香港嘅家園。
committed various
今日嘅記者
criminal
會，
acts
我哋會
to
講一講
destroy
呢
Hong
兩
Kong, our
日暴
home.
徒破壞嘅情況，
At
同
today's
埋我哋警
briefing,
方
we're
啲
going
拘
to
捕
tell
嘅
you
行動。
about the
至於有關
destruction
琴日
caused
處
by
理遊
rioters in the
行
past
集
2
會嗰個
days
情
and
況咧，
also
稍後嘅時間我會
our
交
arrest
翻俾
operations.
港島總區
On
行動
the
吳樂俊高級警司咧，同大家講
public
一講。
procession and
咁啊，在此
meeting
之前咧，我先
yesterday
準
and
備
its
咗一
handling,
段嘅
I
片
will
俾大家
ask
睇翻
Mr.
過去
Um
兩日嘅
Lok
情況。
Superintendent of the Hong Kong Island, to brief you on that later. Now let's watch some footages. There were black shorts throwing petrol bombs at police. Someone set the bronze line on fire. Screens and light boxes were smashed. The black clads then set fires. For the HSBC branches in Wan Chai and at Hennessy Road, they were also trashed. And then the CLI building was also the target of the black clads. The main door was smashed. Pacific Copy was owned by the Chinese group of China Resources, so it was also smashed. And then in Tin Hau, the coffee shop, windows were smashed. And then at around 8 p.m., more people came and they set fires in the shop. They fired fireworks in the middle of the road. Some put foam boxes and other miscellaneous items on the road and then set it alight. There's no novelty in the script of rioters, road obstruction, vandalism, arson, wounding. They did all that in the past 2 days. On New Year's Eve, someone called upon people to demonstrate at different districts in Hong Kong. Starting from 8 p.m., a large number of masked rioters went on a rampage. Christmas decorations that were for the celebration of Christmas and New Year's Eve were taken down to be used for blocking roads. And people were having meals in restaurants, but then rioters stormed in and went on a rampage, and so they couldn't finish their meals and they had to leave. ATM machines, ATMs were there for the benefit, for the convenience of people to withdraw money, but then these facilities were trashed and set on fire. And in Tin Shui Wai, a man was in an argument with some black-clad rioters. He was then mob assaulted. His face was covered in blood. After the countdown, people just wanted to go home to sleep. But then it's not possible. In the early hours on the 1st of January, some rioters stormed into a light rail train. They smashed glass windows and they set fires at the back. And there were still passengers in the train. They had to flee for their life. And then the police were trying to maintain law and order. They were arresting rioters, but they were under attack too. Rioters threw petrol bombs at police vehicles. They set vehicles on fire which were parked in a parking lot next to the police station. They had no regard to the law. Now, 2019 is past, the New Year's arrived. All people in Hong Kong would like a new start, and they want to see peace. But unfortunately, this hope has been dashed by rioters. Yesterday afternoon, there was supposed to be a peaceful and orderly public procession meeting, but it was again hijacked by rioters. Chinese businesses remain the targets of rioters. In Wan Chai, the glass door of a CLI building was smashed. The fridge and cash register in the coffee shop were smashed. Rioters targeted HSBC and many other organizations and shops. They went on a massive rampage. They set alight the bronze lions at the HSBC head office. They set alight the hoardings, and then they smashed the glass doors of ATM centers. They smashed trashing coffee shops. Now, it doesn't matter where the funds for these businesses came from and what the position of the owners or the employees were. But all those who work in these places are Hong Kong people, have rioters ever thought about it. Now, they kept resorting violence against shops and companies they do not like, but then they're just harming all people in Hong Kong. If rioters don't like any business, they could choose not to patronize the business, but they shouldn't deny other consumers the freedom to choose to patronize these places. And then they also trample the rule of law, which is much cherished in Hong Kong. They sprayed paint at the High Court. They sprayed the name of a judge whose ruling they did not like on the wall. They tried to incite hate, and they hurled abuse, insults at the named judge. And then what's worse is that rioters tried to cover up the crimes of their accomplices. They fast on fake news, but some media deliberately reported on such information. They just added words like it's suspected, it's rumored, it's possible, and then they blow up, the fake news. And for those who did not think twice, they would be easily misled to think it's true. The police must reiterate here the vandalism committed on the CLI building, HSBC, coffee shops, courts, the digging of bricks, the throwing of petrol bombs, and road obstruction, arson. These were all committed by rioters. The supporters of rioters must not try to find excuses for rioters. It doesn't matter how hard they try to hide their crime, the police will pursue them till the bitter end. It's like in the early hours on the 1st of December, a man was attacked by a hard object by rioters at his head when he was trying to clear road obstruction in Mong Kok. This was a despicable crime. The police launched a full-scale investigation. On New Year's Eve, 3 men were arrested. Yesterday, around noon, the police also arrested 5 men for possession of offensive weapons in Wan Chai, Eastern District, and in areas near the Procession. They were suspected to have possession of extendable batons, hammers, spanner, and metal knuckles, and other expensive weapons. And then yesterday we acted on intelligence, and we arrested 5 people on the offense of aiding and abetting in rioting and violation against the telecommunications ordinance. They were suspected to have organized illegal radio broadcast to pass on information of police deployment to frontline rioters at public events. This was meant to help the rioters in their attacks or to evade the police. The police must stress that even if people do not carry out violence or they're not at the scene, it doesn't mean they don't break the law by things they do. If they try to aid and abet rioters in any way, they're accomplices and they will have to be held liable as well.
In the operation in the past few days, we have arrested 420 people, including 307 males and 103 females, aged between 12 and 81. And the offences they were arrested for include assault occasioning actual bodily harm, possession of offensive weapons, possession of tools fit for unlawful purposes, disrupting public order, unlawful assembly, obstructing police officers, resisting arrest, and criminal damages. You may have noticed that among those who have been arrested, the youngest one is only 12 years old, a primary 6 student. On the night of 31st December, he was arrested for unlawful assembly at the junction between Nathan Road and Prince Edward Road East. We are very concerned about the large number of arrests of young people who induced these youngsters to participate in these unlawful activities. Do their parents know that they have come out and broke the law? The lawless people instigated young minds to commit offences. They are very shameful. And many youngsters have been tricked by these criminals into thinking that they are committing violence. And in this way, they think they were serving Hong Kong and justice. The police have to point out that it is not love that is contained inside petrol bombs, but rather criminal liability. Anyone who breaks the law will be brought under the law without fail. On the 6th of October, a 56-year-old male and a 22-year-old female were suspected of assaulting a passerby in Mong Kok, and they were charged with wounding. They were brought up in the West Kowloon magistracies this morning. On the 3rd of November, a 19-year-old male was suspected of arson at C1 exits of the Mong Kok MTR station. He was being charged the same at the West Kowloon magistracy this morning. On the 1st of December, a male who was clearing road obstructions was attacked on his head by hard objects. A 33-year-old male was arrested, and he was brought up in the West Kowloon magistracy this morning for the offence of wounding. On Monday, 30th of December, another 33-year-old male was suspected of vandalizing a bank in Shanghai, and he was charged with criminal damage and was brought up in the Fanling magistracy this morning. And about the use of ammunition, in the past few days, we have used the following ammunition. On the 30th of December, we have not used any ammunition. On the 31st of December, which is the New Year's Eve, we have used 23 rounds of CS grenade, 15 rounds of rubber baton, 1 round of super sock. On the 1st of January, we have used 7 rounds of CS grenade, 9 rounds of rubber baton, 1 round of super sock. And about injuries of the police, as at the small hours today, 4 police officers were injured in the operations. A police officer was attacked with fists and hard objects by rioters in Mong Kok on his head on the 1st of January. He suffered abrasion on his face and left hand and right hand. He has received a brain MRI, and he is still being hospitalized. On the 31st of December, a police officer was assaulted on the Aga Street and Nathan Road, and X-ray scanning shows that he suffered palm fracture and dislocation, and he needs to receive a surgery. I will give the floor to Mr. About the procession yesterday. There are 3 things I would like to talk about the procession and assembly of the Civil Human Rights Front on the 1st of January. First, why we needed to end the procession yesterday, and secondly, about our arrangement of evacuation, and thirdly, the arrest we made in Causeway Bay. Actually, as I have explained to you yesterday, the reason why we had to end the Civil Human Rights Front's procession. Now, I will reiterate our rationales. I have to reiterate, it is surely our hope that the procession and assembly would be proceeded in a peaceful manner. Before and during the procession, we have maintained close contacts with the Civil Human Rights Front, but it was such a shame. It was such a shame that within 2 hours since the procession has started, multiple cases of violence broke out. The procession started at about 2:30 p.m. yesterday. At about 4:30 p.m., a small band of rioters vandalized coffee shops and banks along Hennessy Road, including smashing the shop fronts and vandalizing ATMs. When we arrived at the scene to effect arrest, a large group of bystanders assaulted our police officers and hurled hard objects, including umbrellas, bottles, brakes at our police. Rioters hijacked a supposedly peaceful procession, and when the police has finished making arrests and after we evacuating the scene, the rioters once again vandalized banks and set roadblocks in Wan Chai so that the march could not proceed in a peaceful manner. After making assessment, we came to the conclusion that the procession could not proceed safely. Actually, in the past 6 months, you could see that there were many supposedly peaceful processions which were hijacked by rioters, and violent episodes would break out. The rioters would use peaceful citizens as cover, and before the citizens have left, these rioters would smash traffic lights, take away railings, and set up roadblocks, setting them ablaze, and even hurl petrol bombs. I know that the organizer has tried the best to cooperate with the police in order to make sure that the procession assembly proceed in a safety manner. However, the organizer was unable to maintain safety by stopping the rioters. On the basis of public safety, we consider that if the procession was to continue, the safety of the peaceful citizen would be threatened by the rioters. Without any choice, we had to liaise with the organizer to end the procession. I have to clarify that all along we have been maintaining close contacts with the organizer. It was under mutual agreement that we ended the procession. We also agreed that no police operation would be carried out before 6:15. It was only at 6:30 that we pushed forward our cordon line from Arsenal Street. During the pushing forward of the cordon line from east to west, we have been giving warning, and we have led peaceful citizens to leave the scene. It was about 7 o'clock at night when we used tear gas to disperse rioters who hurled petrol bombs at us. The location was the junction between Wan Chai Road and Tin Lok Lane, which was already outside the route of the procession. During the evacuation process, we have never stopped peaceful citizens to leave the scene. At about 7 p.m. in Yi-Wo Street and Percival Street in Causeway Bay, a large group of protesters gathered and blocked roads. So we set up our cordon lines, and we have raised blue and black flags several times to warn those who were participating in an unlawful assembly to leave, but without avail. At 8 o'clock, the Civil Human Rights Front has already urged people to leave 2 hours ago. It was only at 8 o'clock that we intercept and stop those who refuse to leave. I have to reiterate, no one is above the law. No matter be it journalists or the so-called voluntary first aiders, we will intercept them and carry out the investigation on them if they refuse to leave, appoint multiple warnings. But after, if they are found to be not involved in the case, then we will allow them to leave. For example, for the professional journalists who were indeed engaging in professional journalism, we would not arrest them. And in fact, we have not arrested any professional journalists yesterday. In Causeway Bay, last night we have intercepted 464 people. And after initial inquiry, we have let 177 go. And in the end, we only arrested 287 people for unlawful assembly. I will give the floor back to Mr. Kwok. The rioters block roads, vandalize places, arson, and wound people. These scenes have been were very common in the past few months. The police always hope to assist citizens in a peaceful and orderly procession. But it was a shame that yesterday the organizer had tried the best to manage the public assembly and the procession, but the procession was once again hijacked by rioters in an attempt to disrupt public order. The organizer was unable to stop them, and the police had no choice but to intervene. I have to point out clearly, it was the rioters and the supporters of the rioters who caused the procession to end. They have shaken the rule of law in Hong Kong, and the Hong Kong citizens would not accept what they are doing. In 2019, Hong Kong people have suffered much because of the vandalism and violence of the rioters. We warn the rioters not to bring violence into 2020 and allow our city to return to order.
I will now give a summary. It's unfortunate the social unrest that crippled Hong Kong in the second half of 2019 went on to the new year. Many people in Hong Kong long for peace and stability in 2020. But this New Year resolution has been shattered by a group of selfish lawbreakers. Back on the New Year Eve, countdown celebration was clouded by widespread rioting as radicals built barricades on major roads and vandalized shops and restaurants. In Tin Shui Wai, for instance, one man who argued with those masked rioters was beaten up brutally and left with bloody injuries. Then yesterday, on the first day of 2020, almost as a formula, a public procession began in a generally peaceful manner before eventually descending into disorder. In fact, even before the event began at around 2:20 p.m., the police made several arrests for possession of offensive weapons, and a teenager as young as 13 years old was found to possess an extendable baton and hammer. This indeed meant bad omen for the public event that followed. Masked rioters hijacked the procession and started to cause trouble soon after the procession started. Throughout the day, they blocked roads, smashed traffic lights, vandalized shops and banks, and launched attacks on police officers with petrol bombs and different weapons. In one of the most alarming cases, rioters sprayed printed offensive words on the outer wall of the High Court to insult a judge. This kind of attack will make a dent in the spirit of the law and threaten the independence of the judiciary. Some other rioters set fire to the lion statue of a bank and vandalized its facilities. They also ransacked targeted coffee shops that were unsupportive of the illegal act. It's very ironic that these rioters claim to be fighting for freedom, but are depriving others of their freedom to do business in Hong Kong. The most despicable thing is the supporters of these rioters took press interview and accused the police of committing such destructive acts. They make up false accounts to smear the police and confuse the public. We strongly rebut such allegations as totally false and groundless. What's worse, Some unethical media call these rumor mongers and spread fake news. This is an organized and ill-intentioned smear campaign to discredit the police and jeopardize our operational efficiency. For the public procession yesterday, the police all along maintained very close communication with the organizer and come to a conclusion that it no longer had the ability to ensure the order of the event. It's evident that the organizer soon lost control of how the event would develop, as it was hijacked by rioters to wreak havoc along the route. So we asked the organizer to cut short the procession at 5:30 p.m. and gave them time to disperse the crowd peacefully. The decision is certainly in the interest of public safety. The violence that broke out at various locations would have posed a great threat to the safety of all participants. Indeed, before our officers used force, including tear gas, to disperse the remaining participants, they have given multiple warnings and sufficient time for them to live on their own. But our repeated warnings fell on deaf ears, and that's why our intervention was necessary. We must reiterate that no one has privilege to stay in a riot when police officers have given repeated warnings for people to leave. You can claim to be a first aider, a human rights observer, you name it, but this doesn't give you any exemption from the legal liability of taking part in a riot. In the end, we intercepted 464 people, but after initial investigation, released around one-third of them. Moving on to the arrest figures. Over the past 2 days, we arrested altogether 420 people, consisting of 307 males and 113 females, aged between 12 and 81 years. Offenses include unlawful assembly, possession of offensive weapons, disorderly conduct in public place, etc. In conclusion, protesters' violence has reached a really critical level. For more than 7 months, Hong Kong people have been living under the shadow of violent protests, which have extended to almost every neighborhood of the city. 2019 was remembered for its chaos and violence. What does the future hold for 2020? The choice is yours. If you still condone violence, the social unrest will have no end in sight. But if we all stand together to make a clear break with violence, our society can take the time to recover. We'll hopefully return to the safe and stable society that we once took pride in. Thank you.
問題陣開始。